Hello, boys and girls. It's your boy Jonathan over here as a part of the duo of the Fit Pro Bros, and I've got my PIC partner in crime, Mark, the Fitness Ninja Zalmanoff. What's going on, buddy?
What's happening, man? It's inauguration day. Whoop,
Woo!
whoop.
New
I
president, who dis?
don't know. Good grief. I saw that one of my clients sent me this great conspiracy theory of today that the inauguration was still going to happen, but then all those troops that are there's like 25,000 National Guard or something that they're sealing off the city, but then the Marines are going to get dropped in and they're going to seal up all the tunnels, and then they're going to round them all up and arrest them. Obama, Biden, and Pelosi, and they're going to do a military tribunal. It's going to be on TV.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I shit you not. I was like, man, that actually make a really good movie story, like a movie plot.
That's how Batman started when Bane took over the city.
Oh God, this is terrible. Anyway.
We all didn't come here to talk about to listen to us talk about politics, but so I know we always kick off the show with an awesome story, and you know what? We're gonna have to unfortunately break the crotch story streak today. With there's only so many dick stories we can tell on an episode, which I'm sure there'll be some in the later episodes. But Mark's got a pretty interesting story about a trainer meeting, I believe, that he's gonna tee up for us before we get into the meat of the show.
Yeah. So many moons ago at a big box gym that I worked at, I was in the management staff. So I was an assistant department head or whatever it was called. And every Friday we had a meeting of just the management staff. And then we go out to eat. So we'd meet for like an hour or so, and then we'd go to some local restaurant and just throw down. Now, I was probably in my early mid-20s. And most of the staff, we were kind of around that same age, and it was mostly dudes. So, sometimes it just became a pissing contest of like who could eat the most food, because what the hell, why not? So we end up at Red Lobster. And for those of you who are not familiar with Red Lobster, I don't know where you live, but they have the most amazing bread offerings. And that is the Cheddar Bay biscuits, by the way. They are amazing. I haven't eaten a Red Lobster in like, I don't know, 8 years, 9 years. Like the last
business.
I know there's one here in Frisco, and every time I drive by, there's people there, but man, it just tears me up. I can't do it.
It's the blue hair demographic, man. They keep them rolling, maybe. They love seafood. They love that shit.
That was one of those places where, like, as a kid, you thought you were super fancy when you were at Red Lobster. Then you grow up and you're like, oh, never mind. Anyway, so they bring those biscuits out like first thing. Like, they sit you down. Here's your silverware. Here's your biscuits. You're like, oh, all right. So for whatever reason, we decided we were going to have a biscuit eating contest. Meanwhile, we're still having the rest of our food. So the salad comes and the dinner comes, and we always got dessert because I don't know why. So I'm eating these biscuits, and I'm eating my food, and I'm eating the biscuits, and I'm eating the food, and I'm keeping track. And we get to, I think, like 8 biscuits in, and it's just, yeah. Okay, so they're 170 calories for point of reference, by the way. So I'm like 8 biscuits and a salad in, and maybe some shrimp or something. And then we get to 9, and like, then it's just me and one other dude. And we get to 10, and by that point, like, my heart rate's up. I'm doing that like heavy breathing, that Thanksgiving feeling, and I kind of look at the dude, and I grab one more, and I break it in half and just, like, shove it in my mouth. 10 and a half. And he's like, I'm out, dude. I'm out. So I won then. And then I ate all of my meal. I shared dessert with whatever we were having. And then when we got back to the gym, we had this education room, and I went and just laid down because I felt so terrible. Like, my body was in overdrive, just trying to process the amount of calories that I just consumed. Easily like 3,500 calories in that one sitting. God, I felt awful till probably the next day. I mean, it was probably when I woke up the next day, and then of course I'm like bloated all like hell. And
you have clients after that?
I think I had like one in the afternoon.
Ooh,
And
yeah. That's where it gets bad, is like now you got to work afterward, right? Now you got to work with people and talk about being healthy and just feel like shit, right?
I just ate 3,500 calories, so you're still
Right. Do as I say, not as what I did.
So if you're listening to this, don't do that. Don't go eat 10 cheddar bacon.
It wasn't even, it was Red Lobster. Wasn't even a fancy place, man. Dude,
If I would have known any better back then, I would have been ashamed. But
dude,
I wasn't.
what I love most about fitness is we can turn anything into a competition.
Yep.
Competitive about everything. Like,
Absolutely.
oh my God. Cool, man. Well, we'll just hop into the meat of the episode. So what we're going to talk about is value. What is it? Where is it? How do I find it? How do I communicate that to people? And the reason we wanted to do an episode on this is we run a pretty cool program called Fit Pro Collective. Shameless plug. So I drop right there. And we had one of our clients, make a post. And what was this, a few weeks ago, Mark, that he made this post? And he put out there, he goes, hey, I think I just made a mistake and bombed the sale by talking about the features too much. Lesson learned, right? Now, thankfully, this one particular client is really self-reflective and it's going through and analyzing, right? Which is what we should always be doing to get better at our craft. But, to go through that process and to really think about what we're actually doing for people, I see it happen a lot is we get stuck on the features, right? We get too in love with our own product and service and the bells and whistles, and we have a great appreciation for it. Right. Some of us more than others that, like Mark's been in this industry for almost 20 years, right? 18 years. So we remember the days when it was brown folders. How you did everything.
Manila folders, man. All the manila folders.
You didn't have TRX. You didn't have all these things. Right. But to the actual client, they don't care. Right. At the end of the day, it's really what do they really want to get out of this program and out of this service? And the clearer that we can get on that, the better we can communicate on actually getting them to actually take friggin' action, which is the most important part. And then from there, we can actually give them the result versus if we overwhelm them with like, here's all the features and here's what all the buttons do. We end up losing them and we lose an opportunity to change their life. And you lose an opportunity to fill your bank account just a little bit higher.
Yeah, amen to that. And so I'm going to give you guys a little analogy first, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. So this one's a little bit old, but there's a different take on this. So it goes like this. No one wants to buy a drill. No one wants a drill. Typically, you go and you're looking at these drills and there's all these, different bits and bolts and whatever. I'm not a construction dude, so, I'm just an idiot when it comes to those things. Anyway, no one wants a drill. What they say is you want the hole in the wall because that's what the drill provides. So it's not like you're roaming around going, I need a drill. And you get the drill and you just sit there with it. Like, no, the drill has to do something. And that something that the drill does is it drills a hole somewhere. But the hole isn't really what we want either. We want the hole so we can put a nail in it or a screw in it. But then that's not the end of it either. What we really want is, John goes to find a drill because he needs to put a hole in the wall, because he needs to put a nail in the wall so he can put up a picture. So his wife starts telling him, hey, when are you going to hang that fucking picture up? And then John has a happy wife. So what John wants is a happy wife.
No, seriously.
John doesn't want a drill. He doesn't want a hole. He doesn't want a screw in the hole. He wants a happy wife. So when we look at fitness and you fit pros out there, when we're talking about what we provide for our clients, it's fun to say, hey, I got this thing and I have this app and I use these tools, and that's all fine. But what we got to figure out is, what is the client that's sitting in front of us actually want? And we have to be willing to dig those extra layers to figure that out. Because I used to do, here's a little tip for you. I used to do all these assessments and I'd tell people, hey, I want you to give me 3 things that you would like to achieve with your health and fitness goals. And I don't want you to use the words weight loss or tone. And I would get this like, ugh. Like people would just have this look on their face like, what do I say now? And what I was trying to do was get to the root of what they want. Everybody says, I want to lose some weight. Okay, well, that's great. But why? And then why? And then why? Until you really understand the root of the problem. When somebody goes, I've always been made fun of from the time I was in middle school, and my self-confidence is low, and I don't like what I see in the mirror. And that's where we start to be able to add value, instead of like, oh, well, I use this technique of my, my fat burning, blah, blah, blah. Nobody gives a shit about any of that. Right. And half the time it's BS anyway. Y'all know that. So stop it.
Yeah. And like, I think of it like, what are things that I buy that I'm thinking like that? And the first thing that comes to mind is whenever I get my like oil changed or my car fixed or whatever, and I get the one mechanic that wants to go engineer mode on me and explain to me the nuances of how my car operates and how it's put together. I'm like, dude, I don't care. I just want to stop making this weird noise whenever I drive because I'm scared I'm going to blow up and die. Like, can you fix that for me? Right. So think about that with your own decisions that you're making. And when you can get really clear on what that is for your client, like Mark just gave an awesome example. And it's funny. It's the same thing that I did. I asked it in a slightly different way. But the way I looked at it is when we got to that why question is it should make you slightly uncomfortable when they give you the answer. That's how you know you've hit the bone.
Amen.
And I've had some people tell me some things that you don't tell someone that you've talked to for 10 or 15 minutes kind of stuff. And that just told me like, cool, I've made this person feel comfortable. I've built rapport with them and I've built that environment where that they can give me the truth. Because for me to move them forward to the next step, I have to have two things. I have to have airtight logic. Like it has to make sense, right? Like you can't just not talk about how your program works and go, I can help you lose weight if you chain smoke cigarettes. Like that's not going to make sense. Technically, would it work? Yeah, probably not the best way of doing that. So you got to have a sound plan, right? And be confident that you know your plan. But you need that airtight emotional case because people buy an emotion and justify with logic. Now, think about how many times you bought something and then you reverse engineered like why you made that decision after the fact. And for me, when I think of it, like my wife, as logical as she is, she's definitely the brainy person in our relationship. It's funny to watch her make decisions and then re-walk her way through the logical aspects where I know emotionally you made it based on this.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. We all operate that way. We either want to feel good or we want to avoid pain. If we really want to break it down to who we are as just another animal and creature on the planet. So is the person running from pain? And what do I need to do to stop that pain? Or are they running towards pleasure, like you said, Mark, and they see that better version of themselves and they want to get there? Once we get really clear on which one they're drawn towards, then it allows you to build your program and solving that either or for them.
Yeah. And I think, for those of you who have been doing this for a long time, I look back and I can't tell you how many times I've seen tears in a consultation.
Yeah.
And it's that rapport that you just talked about, John, of building that trust immediately where somebody feels like, oh, I can finally tell somebody this because they've been holding it in because they're ashamed. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to tell their spouse. But deep down, there's something that has really driven them to that point that they're sitting in front of you and they're listening to you say, hey, I can solve your problem. And in that moment, they don't care what the structure of the workout is. They don't care how many times a week they need to come in. They don't care how cool your app is. They don't care what toys you have in the gym. All they care about is, I think this person can actually solve the issue that I've been dealing with for years and years on end and help me to overcome this. And you see those tears and you see that emotion, and that's you providing value, not telling them, here's my bells and whistles and you're going to get this and I'm going to give you a meal plan, and nobody gives a shit about your meal plan. Nobody's going to follow it anyway. So stop that too. I'm going to keep telling you, I'll stop a bunch of stuff. Stop doing meal plans. Nobody wants it. Unless you're a registered dietitian, but it's true. And I think, those clients will also be your best clients too. When you've done enough on your end to provide the value and paint the vision of what you're going to create for them, and they go, yes, I want that, then they'll do whatever you tell them to do. And that's when it gets real good, because now you got clients from day one that are bought in. They're not skeptical. They're not questioning. They're not going, well, I've had trainers before that, they couldn't help me either. Well, whatever, for whatever reason that is. But, when you get buy-in from day one, those are the people that stick with you forever. And that's the reason that I got clients that have been training with me for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, almost 13 years now, because I got buy-in from day one and they love it. And that's only done through providing value. There's no way around it. No, again, I've been in so many different gyms over the last 18 years. I've been in, little shit hole in the walls. I've been in the corner of somebody else's gym. I'm back to my own gym. And I've had people follow me to all those same places because of me. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it's what I provide for them. They don't care what the environment is. They trust and they know that, hey, if I'm with Mark, Mark's going to take good care of me.
Yeah. Well said, man. So what's the meat to take away from this? Well, one, the main thing they want is the result, right? So if you're always talking about the result, and by result, I mean what they actually really want, right? Not just talking about toning or weight loss, but what's the result of that, right? That's the first thing to communicate. So get clear on that. And then the next exercise that I would give you, if you're sitting here like, I don't know how to take what I do and translate that into a conversation that demonstrates value, is write down everything that's a feature that you provide. Like, I give you access to my software, which gives you this. I give you the workouts. I give you coaching calls. I give you whatever that is. And then with this lens, right out to the side, how does that solve a specific problem for that person that you want to work with? And when you take the time to write this stuff out, it's going to rewire your mindset. It's going to help you in terms of how you communicate it. But what's going to happen is you're going to realize you're probably not charging enough. When you really look at it and go, damn, I'm only asking for a couple $100 off. This is something that's changing someone's life, not just the exercise and the feel better, but like all these other areas. And you're going to start to realize, man, maybe I'm worth just a little bit more than I give myself credit for.
Man, that's if y'all are listening to this and you didn't just write some shit down, you need to rewind, hit that back 15-second thing a few times and go take notes on that. Cause that's fucking gold right there, John. And when John says, write it down, I mean, write it down, like get out a pen and some paper and physically write it down, because, the thing about, we're very visual people. Like if you're a coach, you're probably a visual learner. That's, we look at bodies moving all the time. That's the way we're trained. And so just thinking about it in your head or, typing it up in your notes, like, no, you need to physically write that stuff down, because that's powerful. And when you begin to do that and you're like, oh, like I keep talking about this, but they don't care because they care of what that does. Right. And when you can speak intelligently to that, man, it changes the game. And ultimately it makes the sales process so much easier, because John, what do we always hear from people? I don't want to be salesy. All right. Well, then you got to up your skill set so you don't sound salesy, right? So you don't feel salesy. And so when you're having a conversation with somebody about what you can do for them, it's truly a conversation about what you can do for them and not trying to close them on whatever program you're trying to close them on.
And here's the thing. If you already know the objections that they typically have, or the concerns, uncertainty is how I like the phrase that, what they really want, and you can communicate that without them having to bring any of it up, because you already know before, because you did your homework, they're going to start to unconsciously go, wow, this guy or girl gets me, which means they feel that you have true empathy for them, which is a big part of this, right? And then it's the confidence that like, hey, here's how this is going to solve you. And I know it'll solve you if we do X, Y, and Z. You're going to overcome 99% of the objections or issues that you've had just by doing that, without even having to be salesy and have one-liners in your back pocket and be a quote unquote closer, right? Because you're already closing, because you already did the research and you understand what they want and need, and you can communicate it in such a way that they just has that unspoken bond that they're like, wow, this person knows me, they get me, they can solve my problem. Cool. How much money do I need to give you today? That's what that turns into.
Yeah. And, it takes repetition. We all know that. I mean, just like getting stronger in the gym, you got to do the reps. You get better as time goes on. You know, I've said this before. I feel sorry for some of the people that I worked with, like in the first couple of years of my career. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just winging it.
Well, man, the first couple clients I had, it was at a Gold's Gym, and I'll never forget them. It was two sisters that were in their 60s, and by God, man, like the only reason he stuck with me, Mark, is because they knew I gave a shit. But I fucked up all their programming and did all that stuff wrong. But they were like, he's a really nice boy, and I know he's passionate and he cares. Like, I'm like, thank you, Ellen, for having patience for me, because like for what I lacked in skill, I made up for an effort.
What a nice young man you are.
A nice young man. He's like my grandson, you know. Even though my fitness manager's like, Jonathan, we got to talk, man. Like, why you got them doing all this crazy shit over here? I'm like, I don't know.
Because it keeps me interested. Like, I don't know.
It's what I did today. Like, she's 60. Oops.
Well, dude, that's seriously, there's a lot of gold in there. And I hope you coaches are listening, because so much of this is we're speaking from experience. We're speaking from mistakes that we've made in our careers. And if we can help you guys avoid some of those things and fast track the process and stay in the game to be profitable and successful, then that's what we're here for. Yeah. And, you know, it's the whole reason that John and I are in business together with the Fit Pro Collective, is just to really help good coaches be in business and stay in business and grow a business, because our field is, I mean, we have such tremendous turnover. There's still so many coaches out there treating it like a part-time gig and wondering why they're struggling, because they're not treating it like a full-time business. So, you know, I hope you guys learned some things today. I hope you took some notes. Go back and listen again, and, you know, understand where we're coming from with this stuff, because we've been doing this for a really long time. I mean, this is year 19 for me. Woo, 19 damn years I've been coaching. That's crazy.
Coming up on 13.
My career will be able to drink in 2 years. It's awesome.
Nah, man, for sure. So at the end of the day, you know, if all the stuff that we're giving you to think about, you know, let that marinate a little bit and just keep it simple. At the end of the day, if you want to influence someone to take the leap in the commitment to work with you, your value just has to exceed the cost. That's all it is.
Yep.
When you can get that formula right, you can literally sell any program, any package to any person. You just got to decide, what do I want to be worth at the end of that, to build that equation so that I can go get what I'm worth, and I don't have to quit. I don't have to keep this as a side hustle, and I can do this full time. And then you can get new devils with new levels as you continue to level up, which is a great problem to have. And you can keep going onward and upward. That's what we want for you.
I'll take that. So you guys, thanks for listening. Man, have a great day. If you enjoyed this, I'm sure it's on the bumper. I forgot what we said at the end of this thing, because we got this thing that we attach to the end of every podcast. In case you've never done a podcast before, that's how this shit works. But if you enjoyed this, go give us a review, subscribe, all that good stuff. And y'all get out there and make good choices. John, hit them with the tagline, baby.
Go get what you're worth. Yeah.
Damn good.
Damn good show.